What's the most hurtful thing you've overheard about yourself by accident? At a family reunion, my mother stated she was so happy when I moved out. It was my house and I was letting her live there for free after her divorce. If another nurse had been taking care of him, he'd be alive right now. Spent the entire night running around trying to stabilize a patient. And my bitch of a co-worker sat there talking shitty with my other bitch of a co-worker, loudly talking about how incompetent I was the entire time. Neither of them lifted a finger to help. When the patient crashed, both of them magically disappeared, and it was nurses from the other side of the hallway who came to help with the code. They came after all was said and done, and then I overheard one of them say that. Then they proceeded to tell the unit manager I was incompetent and crying at the bedside. I was 7 and basically poor trailer trash. But I asked my friend if I could stay the night. He called his mom to ask and I overheard her say, "Tell him no. I don't want roaches and lice." Really cut me deep. To this day I have extreme anxiety about keeping my house clean. I couldn't help it, I was poor. And our roaches didn't pay rent, you bitch. Overheard one of my aunts telling my mother that my arms and legs looked disgusting because of my body hair and she should do something about it. I was 11 and really self-conscious about being a hairy girl. When I was in 7th grade I lived in a shitty podunk town in East Texas. I was weird and an ugly duckling. In order to fit in, I decided to become a cheerleader since all of them were popular and well liked at my school. I made the team and considered all of them friends, even though they were mean to literally everyone who they didn't consider cool. One day, during a practice, the bases of my stunt, the people who hold you up, dropped me and I fell flat on my ass, which bruised my tailbone really badly. At our first game, we were on the sidelines and during a break I overheard our team captain laughing about how funny it was when her and the other base dropped me on purpose and that they had hoped I would be hurt enough to not be able to participate at the game. As a 13-year-old, it destroyed me, but in order to still seem like I was liked at school I didn't tell anyone about it. When I was a preteen, I posted a picture of myself online with a minor celebrity. I later found that it was reposted on a message board, and the majority of the comments talked about how ugly and pale I was. The only person who said anything nice said, "Don't say that. She posts here sometimes and she's really nice." I saw 2 girls that I roomed with for a short while in college had been publicly posting on Facebook about how weird, annoying, and disrespectful I was. Their reasoning was that I was taking an 8:30 am class and only weirdos do that, and that I made a shitty ton of noise every morning and disrupted their sleep. It hurt because I tried really hard to not be disruptive. I wouldn't let my alarm go off, because I woke up naturally around the time it was scheduled and would just turn it off before it beeped. This was partially out of anxiety. I changed clothes in the bathroom, tiptoed everywhere, and wouldn't even eat or zip my backpack in the room because I wanted to be quiet. As far as I knew, neither of them woke up any of those mornings, and they never said anything to me about it. I was copied into an email conversation where about 10 messages earlier one of my employees had described me as an idiot and suggested to the recipients that they didn't get me involved in the situation they were discussing. I'd always thought we got on well and it knocked my confidence. Thanks for all the replies and messages. Some of you are really nice. I've got much thicker skin now, but this happened many years ago when I was quite new to management. I eventually talked with the lady who sent the email and she was extremely embarrassed and apologetic. Then when we talked more it came out that one of her colleagues was spreading shitty about me and she hadn't questioned what was being said. It took months to get rid of the real problem causer. This wasn't in the USA. It's difficult to fire people where I am, and the real confidence crusher was knowing that he was poisoning the well that whole time. Things were much better once he was gone. My stepmom saying I was useless, heartless, abusive, leeching, etc. When I couldn't get my dad a birthday gift and instead painted something for him. I was like 16 at the time and had no money. Couldn't get my mom to buy something for her ex-husband, and stepmom never wanted to get to know me. To my grandma. Actually pretty sad, as art was still a big deal to me at that age. The irony in that is that your stepmom was describing herself. At my first internship, I overheard one of my supervisors ask the others if I was genuinely mentally handicapped. That hurt. Edit. Yes. She 100% meant what she said. But not in a compassionate way. She not only insulted me, but insulted the undergrad program I came from for sending her someone so incompetent. Nothing I did or didn't do justified her behavior. For example, she'd ask my opinion, then laugh in my face when I gave it. Or tell me a meeting was in one room when it was in another, and snap at me for not being in the right place. That was 10 years ago. Now I have a few degrees and am happily employed in the same field at a company that values me. I once overheard my friend's mom telling her son, who was my partner in our canoe trip, that the reason I was complaining about leg pain all day was that I was just wimpy and complain a lot. A few weeks later I found out I had a bone tumor on my leg. So, I was pretty vilified by that. But then again, I did have cancer. All's well now though. Edit. Thanks for the upvotes and Merry Christmas. Many people loofed when they heard the news, so there was no need to me to throw it in anybody's face, haha. I phoned my friend and asked him if he wanted to hang out. I was maybe 10. He said he had to ask his mom. I heard him say, Lazarus 870 wants to do something, but I don't want to see him. I guess he either thought he muted the phone or did a shitty job at muffling it or something. Then he came back to the phone. Sorry, my mom said I can't. He was a terrible friend over the years. In 8th grade, I had the highest GPA in my class, so I got to recite the Pledge of Allegiance at graduation. At our rehearsal, as I was walking up to the mic, I overheard a classmate whisper to his friend. Out of the whole grade, they had to pick the kid with the most annoying voice. It's a decade later, and I still shrink into insecurity when I remember it. He acts like people actually like him. Someone needs to tell him. We only hang out with him because he will do almost anything you tell him to. He's a sad little puppet. Girl I had a thing for. Granted. Anytime someone said something starting with things like wonder what would happen if, and $20 says you couldn't do, insert stupid idea, I would jump on it and do it, attempt it. It's called making $20 tbh. A number of years ago, my sister's phone was super glitchy and would randomly call people. Once it called me, and after I stopped singing and goofing off into the phone trying to get her attention, I just stopped to listen. She was bitching to her mother-in-law about me. I honestly can't remember what exactly she was saying, but just the fact of who she was saying it to. This woman barely knows me. If it was one of our other siblings who we're close with, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So I promptly called her back and chewed her a new asshole. Just 5 minutes ago, my co-worker told me my other co-worker told her she'd quit immediately if I got hired onto the position they're currently at. Up until this point, I thought this girl and I were best friends. I even shared my Netflix password with her. That bitch. Hope you changed the password. Overheard my mom telling my aunt that she hated me as a person. I was 13. Overheard someone saying they didn't want to work with me. I don't know why, considering I barely knew them. It definitely hurt though. I've had this happen at my work as well. Plus people saying I'm a FCK up. I've only FK'd up things that everyone else has admitted to also FKing up before. I'm under the impression all my coworkers are just dicks because I try to keep to myself, do my work and go home. They always talk shitty about the cars I buy and bring to work too. I don't understand why. It's none of their business what I do in my free time. I buy and sell cars. I have new to me cars every other week. They tell me I'm an idiot for buying them, but I'm just doing the maintenance and cleaning them up to sell them for a profit. And maybe make someone happy and sell them their dream car. Edit. My first gold. I don't even know what to do with it. My project lead said to a mutual friend, "I can't fkin stand that guy. That one hurt emotionally and my career." Everyone I'd invited to my first sleepover laughing while reading my diary entries about how my dad had been abusing me. I'd left the room and one had gone snooping. It was worse when they wouldn't stop or give it back when I burst in and pleaded with them too. Then everyone laughed even harder. That was the first and last time I wrote anything real like that in a diary. I think this was 9th grade. A girl I had a crush on, but hadn't really talked to at all, was moving away. Few days before she moved I overheard her saying, "Yeah, I'll miss pretty much everyone. But I'll tell you one person I won't miss. Sanskrit. That kinda sucked." My dad's friend telling my dad that I, F16 then, was not that good looking. Asked him if he had saved up money to cover for that in dowry, money exchanged by parents to the groom at the time of marriage. Since that day no one could convince me otherwise. Heard my mom complain about the Christmas gift I gave her a few years back. Seems small but IDK it just hurt. I used to make my mom gifts when I was a kid. One time I made my mom this cup thing in elementary school and gave it to her for her anniversary, and the next day I found it in the trash can. While not a mean comment, this comment killed me. I have epilepsy and I overheard my parents and neurologists talking about some of the effects if my seizures continued, which were basically becoming dependent for everything. Short and long-term severe memory loss. And my eye dropping a lot. It really hurt hearing that in a few years I would have gone from honors classes to special ed. Thankfully my seizures have stopped and the only lasting side effect is some memory loss, but man, that sent me spiraling for a long time. My dad saying he expected my twin sister to do great things. Not so bad until he followed it up with, "I don't know what we'll do about my name. Though. He still doesn't know I heard that and I plan to keep it that way. The best revenge is a life well lived." Overheard my dad tell my mom that I am not capable enough to go through with my higher studies. One of the worst feelings when your parents don't have any faith on you. I have now graduated from a prestigious school and have 2 degrees to my name. My mother telling a relative that I was useless, selfish, arrogant, ornery, and stupid for giving up on my education. I was 16. I had just transferred from a private college prep school 7 miles away so I could go to public school 1 mile away. For both I walked and took public buses. I was my mom's caregiver, housekeeper, bill payer, shopper, gardener, handyman, security service and courier service 24/7. I had no social life. And I worked PT. I had been doing this alone for 3 years. Though I was the youngest of 7 siblings. I was flawed. I felt like I had been sucker punched. I stood there in my apron and rubber gloves, holding a laundry basket, and bawled my eyes out. It wasn't as much the content, which was bad, but the context. She was lying. And doing it to ensure that I looked bad enough to everyone that if I reached out for help, none would be forthcoming. Learned a hard life lesson that day. I was sick, septic, dying in the ER at the local hospital. I had tubes coming in and out of me. I had IV antibiotics. I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night. My family was at my house and my niece who was with them called the house and put them on speaker. I heard my mother telling them all how she didn't care about me. Never had. She was only there to make sure my nephew was okay. That I got dirty diseases from being gay and sleeping with everyone in town. No. It wasn't an STD. No, I didn't get it from sleeping around. And I haven't bothered with her since. Not overheard, but accidentally saw messages popping up on my mother-in-law's iPad as she was texting her friend from another room about how I used to be attractive, that I was now fat, and that her son was basically a saint for still being with me. It broke my heart. I went to school with a black eye and busted nose from my dear old dad. Child services was called to do a home check. My dad and mom told the worker I'd done it to myself and I was suicidal and that I'd written in my diary that I wanted to kill my little brother. I didn't even have a diary, and of all the people I was close to, my little brother was number one. It got me a black eye and an involuntary stay in a locked ward. I bailed ASAP. My father said he was too busy to come see us on Christmas. I told him my 2-year-old had picked presents out for him. I was also going to announce my second pregnancy. I was at my brother's house when my father called to offer my brother a ride to the airport Christmas morning. The airport is less than 5 minutes from our house. This is quite a thread. I've never wanted to punch so many people I don't even know right in the f-king face. My best friend's story, not mine. But figured it's worth sharing. We'll call her Carrie. She was born super premature. But she ended up completely fine. Like you would never know unless you saw the pictures of when she was born. Anyways, when she was around 8, she was at the top of the stairs, head peeking through the banister, secretly listening to her parents argue downstairs about how her dad was too hard on her brother for his grades. Her mom says, well, why aren't you that hard on Carrie? She doesn't get straight A's either. And her dad responds, Carrie was born premature. She's probably retro dead. Honestly, Dr. Matt 73 is like a 2-stroke 10. Oof, thanks. On the upside, you can sleep well knowing they're 10-stroke 10 CNTS. When I was in middle school art class, something funny happened and I let out a loud laugh. I then overheard one of my childhood best friends whisper to another person, God, I hate Trader 2488's laugh. I immediately looked at him and said, what? And he just looked down at the table like he didn't hear me. This actually made me change my laugh. It's completely different from what it used to be. Edit. Well, Jesus Christ, that was quite the Christmas surprise, haha. I forgot about this comment and just saw how many upvotes it has. I went to school for a year for baking and pastry arts. There was a program-wide competition. And I was one of the only person in our section that wanted to compete. During an exam, I was waiting for some sugar to boil, so I'm standing by the front of the room at a burner. And the other chef in charge of the competition comes in to talk to our chef. They're whispering to each other for a few seconds. And then I clearly hear our chef say, well, it's not that she's bad. He shoulder checks, sees that I'm staring right at him, and they step out of the room. Looking back at it now, they were probably just surprised I had wanted to compete, since I'm definitely not the most outgoing person in the universe. But at the time I was devastated. Edit. Given all the really heavy stuff going on in this thread, I'm super lucky and aware that this is a very silly incident. Semicolon. In middle school, I overheard some girls say that a person I regarded as a close friend was only talking to me cause she felt bad for me. She then confirmed it. Absolutely nothing. Which just makes me more paranoid. When I was 8, I decided to make my mum a paper mac crocodile for her birthday. I spent weeks on it. I'd get back from school and work a bit more on it, all in secret so it'd be a surprise when I gave it to her. One day I came home from school, excited to get to the crocodile as her birthday was coming up fast now. Ran to the kitchen and saw my crocodile all screwed up lying in the kitchen bin. She'd found it and thrown it away. I cried so much. My fiancee's mother trying to convince her to break up with me because I was a lazy slob as I was still recovering from injuries I sustained in Afghanistan that limited how active I could be. Edit. This blew up more than I was expecting. Thank you everyone for the kind words. My recovery went well and I'm much better now, both physically and mentally. And while her mother is still pretty cold in general, it doesn't bother me any. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas. I was in middle school and I overheard one of the girls doing one of those paper fortune telling games with the boys and predicting who they were going to date. She opened up the paper and said, "Ugh, you're going to date Fox." And the guy just said, "Gross." Yep, found out that I wasn't really considered a catch. Edit. My name is not really Fox. My name here is Glimmer Fox, which is a name I invented for a character in a book I'm not writing. Took 18 hours to draw painting for one. Gave it and felt happy, but soon I found she dumped it in the garbage. Edit. And to most of the question, how can anyone throw their own portrait painting gifted on the birthday the same day? It really depressed me till now. I recollected the painting from the garbage and took it home. When I walked in on my, now ex-boyfriend cracking a joke about my boobs to a group of guys. I very clearly remember it ending with "she'd be great." This was in middle school. My friend, being an asshole, texted a girl at school that I had a crush on her, even though I didn't. She replied, "You kinda hurts a little bit." Walked up on a bunch of people who I thought were my friends talking shitty about me, saying I'm a loser and all this other shitty. When they saw me they fell silent and I just walked away. That really hurt, but I got over it eventually. Edit. This is my highest voted comment by far and my first ever silver. Thank you all for the Christmas present. Edit 2. Gold as well. This is going to be a great Christmas. I overheard my dad telling my mom that he didn't expect my brother and I to get accepted at NDSU. A month ago I flaunted that acceptance packet right in his face. But he's also told me that I probably won't amount to much or be a failure, as well as his plans for me if such thing were to occur to cause him the least amount of embarrassment. Edit. Whoa. I didn't expect this reaction and everyone here is so kind. Thanks guys. Edit. Holy cannoli. Thanks for the gold and silver guys. I was going through a pretty rough time and came home from college super depressed. And my brother told my mom I was a basket case. Kinda ironic coming from him, but it still hurt. I've always struggled with social anxiety and I finally felt like I was getting a good handle on it. I texted one of these girls where we would be meeting as I was on my way to her apartment. Before I could knock, I heard her saying, "Oh my god. She is so annoying. Why couldn't she just get the hint?" And it was just a good few minutes of all these people who said that they will never judge me and that we were family. Just shitty talking me. All the progress I've made towards my social anxiety slid all the way down. My grandparents whispering at the table about how terrible I am and how I'm a real mess. Then acted all normal and cozy to me. I was 14. Edit. Holy, this blew up overnight. By far my highest rated comment. Kinda sad. Thanks for the support everyone and Merry Christmas. He's a great guy, I just wish he was hotter. Well, FCK. My parents laughed to themselves when I mentioned the college I was going to apply to. When I was in 5th grade, one of my friends accidentally invited me to an online chat room called the I Hate LL Cloud IXLL chat room. When someone realized I was in the chat they unloaded on me, pointing out every flaw I had and why no one in school liked me. The rest of the chat room followed suit and said some pretty awful things to me, including how I should kill myself and that no one would miss me. A few of my closest friends even chimed in at this point and agreed with everything being said. I started to self-mutilate and pretty much went the rest of middle school and high school without friends. Unable to trust people or get close to people. To this day I can pretty much count how many true friends I have on one hand. Kids can be f***ing awful. This seems super small and weird, but my best friend growing up recently found her old hard drive from when we were in like grade 6/7. And we were going through it together. She was letting me go through whatever because it was all so old. I'm 20 now, so it didn't really seem to matter. I found a lot of old MSN chat logs, throwback, where she and other people from my middle school class were just ripping me to shreds. Calling me ugly, annoying, fat, all that good stuff. Fun times. I imagine this will be buried by now, but hey, it's Christmas. I was at a sleepover with my 3 best friends and was woken by something in the night. While trying to get back to sleep I heard my name. So I obviously listened in. Two of my friends were discussing how to phase me out of the group. It felt like they talked for hours about it. How weird I was. How boring I was. How much of a chore I was. It was gutting. On the positive side, I found new friends. Told them about it all. And my previous friends were pretty much ignored by everyone outside of their little group. So they got what they wanted and I got what I didn't know I needed.